Welcome everyone. This is Fluid Vision, a galactic citizen perspective, raising the consciousness of humanity to assist planet Earth. And we're here today again with Miss Suzanne Lie, and we're so honored to have her experience and her awareness of channeling the Arcturians. So, Sue, we welcome you.
Thank you.
Yes. How you been these days?
Very good.
Excellent. Has anything come up lately, like, for example, in your readings where people share certain things that you find a commonality with what's been going on?
Hmm. Commonality is that people are ready. People are ready. They're ready to um, move into a deeper understanding, a higher frequency, a sense of happiness. They're just ready. They're ready to do whatever they need to do to create a good life for themselves, for their family, for their neighborhoods, for their planet.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, Saturday there was some. I'm going to just say people out there, especially through internet, they were organizing what was called a world mass meditation.
Yes,
And that's a topic that I'd like to cover with you later today in this discussion. Um,
yes, I've read about that.
yeah, and so I went into a deep meditation. I had this incredible experience connecting with, the central sun and connecting with the suns and connecting with the energies that were pouring through me and into the earth and back to humanity. And it lasted for about 45 minutes. And all I can say is that, if everyone were to do this at any time in their life, especially during these days, um, that it will bring forth a higher frequency on our planet. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that as well, because you wrote something in the blog to the readers that I'd like to go over with you in a little moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else that you wanted to just share right out front that's been in the forefront of your mind or in your psyche? You already said a very powerful message there, but do you have anything else to add to that?
Let me see. Oh, I just got this blessing of we are here. We being um, basically the higher dimensional expressions of ourselves and and even of Gaia. Yes, mm, Gaia is a tough chick. And she's doing good right now.
She's
Right
happy with
now.
what's going on.
Yeah, in spite of all that's going on, Gaia, the beingness of the planet, which is also often known as Gaia, is strong. She's strong. She's very strong right now. And she sees that a lot of her people are mm, in a state of confusion, etc. But that's because they're beginning to remember.
Ah,
That's because they're getting more information. I've been doing a lot of these privates, and I am amazed at how informed all these different people are.
right.
People are really tuning in
Yeah.
to what's happening, and that's fantastic.
I feel that. I feel
Mhm.
that as well. I've been seeing it on my side as well. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful for you to bring that up. I think people are also exhausted from everything that we've been through, and they're ready for change as well. Even if they don't fully understand, they know that something is changing and they want to be awake.
Yes. Definitely ready to move into the next octave, so to speak.
So what does that look like to you, that next octave?
Hmm. The next octave is love and light. Love and light. So all these many individuals I've spoken to, they all have so much love and so much light. And there's a lot more people that really do live in love and light than people know.
Oh, yes.
And, because the news, you don't open up your newspaper and say, hey, 13 more people have volunteered to live a life of love and light. You
Yeah.
don't see that. You
Right.
see this bad thing and that bad thing and some other bad thing. And maybe once in a while, you might find a little good thing there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that each person really needs to find within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And within that process, then they become like a beacon. It kind of, that love and light moves through them.
Yes. And so if we are living that love and light, I think people are going to be trending towards more good news versus bad news, which is what comes through the media a lot. We get this bad news, who's the villain, who's the dark one, who's, like there's this narrative that goes back and forth. And I think people are just exhausted of this narrative. People want something brighter, something lighter. Like, we have enough going on in life. Why we have to constantly hear only bad news is the drama of the day? What happened to just some really good news? Like, we need a lot of good news now.
Yes, good news.
Good news. And I think that's something that's come around is people are feeling, at least from people that I've been talking with on my side here, is that people are feeling a little bit more optimistic in the sense that something's changing with the financials. There's people that are aware that the financial fake fiat money is coming to a head, meaning that the bubbles are about to pop. And when that happens, there is a lot of discussion about a financial reset coming up. So it's good for people to understand that, because it is a reality and it is coming. Just like back in 1971 when President Nixon announced that the gold will be removed from the currency. And they did that for a multitude of reasons that we don't go into here. Um, but the bottom line is that the gold standard will most likely go back behind the currency once again and bring back financial stability. So I thought I'd just bring that up and make people have people hear some optimistic news about our finances for the coming future.
Yes. I think people are very anxious to learn what's going on
Right.
financially, because that touches them the most directly. They have
Right.
to feed their children, they've got to keep their houses up, they have to keep a job, they have, all of those third dimensional aspects of life.
And the whole world is watching United States. They're watching us like a hawk, because we're the movers of the shakers of the world when it comes to a direction, a voice, sort of like a template of, if we get it right, then the whole world will mimic that, and it will be positive. So we still have to roll up our sleeves and do a lot of work. I have a feeling that our Constitution is going to be revisited and completely honored at some point, because there were some concrete principles that were laid down for us. So wasn't really meant to go towards politics or anything like that, but I just wanted to just brush quickly on it, because it does consume a lot of our energy. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you about meditation and how important it is to balance those energies, so that we don't give up our energy towards all of that stuff. We just acknowledge that it's going on, and we need to hold our energy in a certain way that will be a contribution to moving everything towards the light.
Yes, it is the humans are the most evolved species on the planet. And so if the humans are overall in a bad space, such as during war times,
Right.
that affects the whole planet and the actual planet. And on the other hand, if the humans are awake and aware and realize that the planet isn't just a big rock, the planet is a living being, an alive living being.
Yes.
And we are the guardians of that alive living being.
Mm-hmm.
We, the humans, are the guardians. And that's quite a responsibility. And if we hold that responsibility and we think in terms not just of our personal, but also, I mean, yes, of our personal and our local and all of those things, but the core is the entire planet, the planet Gaia.
Yes. So, do you have any information as to why we had fires like in California or fires in Australia, or why we're having so many earthquakes in Puerto Rico? Is there any way that you can get some insight as to why Gaia has, um, I don't know if Gaia co-created that, or if we did it, or if it's all of the above?
Well, it's part of the darkest night is just before dawn.
Yes.
And so that which is broken needs to be revealed so that it can be healed. But if it's not revealed, it can't be healed. And
It's
so a lot of the things that seem like, oh, wow, this new thing, that new thing, a lot of those new things, they've already had their time and they've done it before. And it's come back, if you go back in history,
hmm
all these things have happened before. And it's what do we do this time? Because this time is very different because people all over the world can speak to anybody all over the world. We have an opportunity for world unity that is unique, that we haven't had before when we've come to some difficult times.
right.
But everybody on this planet can speak to anyone and everyone that they want to right now.
I think that's the reason why the internet was invented in the first place, was that so that we could all have this network, this synopsis where we become one consciousness. So right now I'm clearly understanding for the last several months that everything is leading towards unity consciousness. This duality mind, this right and wrong, good and bad, black and white. I feel like both of them are merging together in such a way, or getting closer together in such a way, that it's forcing us to become a unified field, a unity consciousness. That's what I feel is morphing into place during these times.
Yes, unity is the basis. It's a challenge because the planet, if you're going to really speak of unity consciousness,
Good, good.
that's the whole planet. And there's so many different cultures and places and environments, and so many different things are happening all over. But what's happening also now is that it's all in the news. It's not like, oh, maybe I heard that some weird thing happened out in some other place. No, you know exactly what the weird thing was, exactly when, exactly where it was, and everything about it. You can just look it up and find out about it.
Right.
So people have access to information that encompasses the entire planet.
Exactly.
That's very important.
Yeah, it's almost like a quickening. Like it almost feels like because of the communication, we're able to accelerate our growth, our expansion, our collaboration quicker and easier and more to the point.
Yes, and that quickening is the quickening into our fifth dimensional expressions, because we are having third dimensional bodies, but our consciousness and our awareness is also fourth dimensional in our dreams and our aspirations and our creative endeavors. And then there's our fifth dimensional expression of consciousness. And this is when our consciousness and our thoughts and experiences of reality are not limited to our particular self, our particular neighborhood, our particular family. It encompasses the entire planet.
Right.
And when a planet can come into an era of unity consciousness from all over the planet, and like I've said, I've just been speaking to people from all over the planet, and you would think, oh, they're so different. No, all these people from all over the planet, they are all have so much in common.
Yeah. Well, I love this message over and over and over again because this is what needs to resonate. And it's funny when you share and talk about these things, I feel a resonance, and I think it's important for people to understand what that really means. It means that, our thoughts are first a thought, and then it becomes a vibration, and then it becomes a frequency. So it's energy, vibration, and frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And when we send those frequencies out, it's just like the internet. We send information all around the world all at once at the same time. And if we all do it, if we have billions of people around the world sending a similar message of love and unity, oneness, the earth,
Mm-hmm.
appreciating our resources that she offers us every day, knowing how to live in nature in balance, in harmony with the earth, then wow, I mean, we're all going to treat each other much differently, and we're going to be expecting a different type of reality than what we've been experiencing.
Yes, if we think of Gaia as our Mother Earth,
Hmm.
then she's our mother.
Yes.
And she is our mother because if Gaia wasn't here, we wouldn't be here.
Correct. Correct.
And yes, we all have higher dimensional expressions. We have our fourth dimensional expressions, which is the parts of ourselves that are our imagination and our creativity, our questioning, our finding of the answers. And we have our fifth dimensional expression of self. And in our fifth dimensional expression of self, we can take ourself beyond just the physical self. And we can realize that we are infinite, that we move into higher frequencies and higher frequencies of reality. And as we go into our sixth dimensional frequency of self, then we can begin to remember our life on other planets, our life on starships, and our life as it perceives the universe.
Right. So here's a question. So we're in the three-dimensional, meaning the way we know ourselves, the earth and cars and people and everything that's physical that we can see viscerally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when we start talking about fifth dimension and sixth dimension, all that, would you consider that non-physical?
um, well, there's consciousness, and consciousness is non-physical.
Mm,
And if our consciousness, we all have third dimensional bodies
yes.
because we live on a third dimensional planet, and our body has to be of the same frequency of that planet in order to be able to exist and to thrive on that planet. We have to be in that same frequency of it.
Right.
And that's why we call Gaia our mother, and our mother planet, our mother earth. And that's us revering that we are not just one person. We are part of a planet, and every person, place, situation, and thing that goes on that planet is really part of our reality.
Yes.
We may not know that, but it is, because everything has an energy field. And the energy field floats beyond and above and between and through all the different components of reality.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about this thing called field, the energy field?
Well, a field, it would be like if you were hiking in a huge field and the field was so big you didn't know where the field was going to end.
Oh,
You knew where it began because you got in your car and drove up the mountains or whatever, and you parked your car and you said, okay, I'm going to take a long hike into that big field. And so as you take that hike, you leave your car behind, you leave your uh, phone doesn't work out in the middle of nowhere. You are just you and the planet
oh,
and the life that is within and on and above and underneath the
yeah,
planet.
right. So the field is sort of like a space, an area, and then we make the contribution to that space and that area that we are collaborating with at that time.
Yes, the field is very cohesive.
Hmm.
And so if you have 20 people that are happy, it's going to be a very happy field.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
if you have 20 people that are sad and angry, you're going to have a very sad and angry field.
Right, right. Okay, there's a really good example that I think people can relate to. Sure. So
Mm-hmm.
we're creating a field. We co-create a field with each other. So
Yeah.
like if somebody's sad and somebody's super happy, they're both emanating in an aura field or a field of consciousness out in their area, and then they start to merge. So how does that affect when we start to recognize somebody's going through a very distorted, sad, unhappy field, and somebody's going through a very glorious, happy, euphoric field, and they start merging together for whatever reasons. They happen to find each other in a certain synchronized moment. How would you look at those two fields interacting with each other?
Well, obviously, the unhappy field is unhappy, and the other field is a happy field, and the happy field is empowered and feels strong
Mm,
and um, feels love for themselves. And that love for themselves is something that they can share with others and teach others how to have love for themselves. So
mm,
when you have that person number one, happy person,
sure.
that runs into person number two, who's a sad person,
Hmm.
um, very often the very first thing they just need to know that they're not alone.
Ah,
And so if you just say hi, how you doing, and what's going on, and then blah, 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 blah.
yeah, yeah. Why are
Yeah,
you so
no,
happy?
it's tough. It's tough sometimes. It really is tough. But I just went to the coffee shop and I got too much coffee here. Would you like to take this coffee because
Sure.
it's too much for me? And I just feel like I'd like to give you a little gift today because you look like a cup of coffee would be good for you today.
There you go.
Yeah.
There
Mhm.
you go. So just spread the good cheer, spread the good vibe.
Yeah.
Not
People
not
take
to
care.
not not to
Yeah.
impose, not to impose, but be gentle.
Just take care of each other. You
Right.
see somebody that needs something, and maybe you don't really have the. I remember one time I was taking a walk. This was a long time ago, but it was such an impact. And we were walking along the beach, and um, it was beautiful, and everybody was there, and they were happy, and they were fun. They had their swimsuits on, and their blah blah blah. And it was great. And then I looked across the street, and behind a trash can, there was this person laying down that was emaciated and sick or something, and reaching out for a bottle of booze, but couldn't quite get to it and didn't have
Mm,
the energy to get to it.
hmm.
And it was such a juxtaposition. It was
Right.
such a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And I just had to stop, and I just sent him as much light and love as I could send him.
Right.
And I knew that I couldn't go to him and talk to him and do anything. It would just make a scene and make him embarrassed.
Right.
But just if he could just have a little bit of a positive, loving energy field around him.
Yes. So you were emanating an angelic quality for this soul that slipped into some darkness.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I
So
am.
we're also angels on earth.
Yes, and everybody can do that with anybody at any time.
Yes.
And I think, oh, well, they don't know. We just sent them energy. But people really feel. People, they may not know what it is, but anyone knows if you're like walking down the street, there's this really grouchy person next to you, you kind of feel a little, and you kind of like want to back off a little bit or pretend you have to fix your shoe or something and get out of that person's field.
Sure.
But then on the other hand, if you're taking a walk and there's this, vibrant, happy person, you kind of want to stand close to that person. It's like, that looks good. I want some.
Sure. Well, then, okay, so I think we pretty much covered how we share goodness and happiness and joy. So we can transition into more of what you specialize in, which is multidimensionality. And the question I had is, how can we define the word galactic?
Well, there's planetary, and that means everything that goes on with the planet. And galactic means everything that goes on within our galaxy.
Okay, so when we say a galactic being here
Mm-hmm.
on Gaia, what would that look like?
A galactic being, most of the galactic beings that are on Gaia are Palladians, Arcturians, and Tarians. Those are um, the main galactics, so to speak,
Yes.
that resonate innately to the fifth dimension,
Mm-hmm.
and they live in a world that resonates to the fifth dimension. It's
Okay.
a resonance.
So, assuming that we didn't know who they were or what their names are, and they're here and they are a galactic being, uh, does that include you and me? Does that include everybody on this planet, or is it just a certain few?
Everybody has the ability to remember that they are galactic beings.
Mm-hmm.
But different people have had different experiences, and some people have not had a life in which they could ever imagine that they had that degree of power and love.
Exactly. So they only see themselves as only human beings, and that's it. Nothing to do with anything galactic.
Yes.
Right.
And also
But it doesn't mean they're not galactic.
it means that it means they have lost touch with their galactic self.
Right. So therefore, everybody's galactic, but the question is, do they remember that they are or not?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So with that fundamental understanding, there was something you had written in your blog back on January 8th. It's 15 questions in preparation for your multidimensional leadership. Questions from your galactic family through Suzanne Lie. So you wrote here, there's a beautiful picture of these crystals and crystals floating in the sky with clouds, and it's just gorgeous. So if anybody gets a chance to go to her website, multidimensions.com, and go to her blog on January 8th, you're going to find it. It's incredible. But I was very impressed with some of these questions because I was able to recognize the galactic within me. It was pretty straightforward for me to answer these questions. But then I was saying, well, what if I wasn't aware that I'm galactic, and what is this galactic? And so that's why I asked you those questions ahead of time, so that when we do get into these questions that were laid out, we can go through them one by one and maybe help or assist or guide individuals who are curious and are interested to see how they can go through these questions and process them for themselves. So let me just start with what you read here, what you wrote here. Dear readers, please ponder the questions. We invite you to answer the question marked in red in the comments section at the bottom of this blog. So I guess that's more like a directive, but let's just go through some of these questions.
Okay.
Um, the first one, we'll just start with the first one because it's pretty straightforward. Number one, do you remember that we galactics are here to serve and assist you?
Mm-hmm.
It would be wonderful to get your perspective on that.
Well, there's a difference between knowing something and remembering something. And remembering something is something that you've known for a long time, and maybe you forgot it, but you're remembering it now.
So how do people remember, or how do they even access that memory?
Meditation.
Ah, so which is a segment we're going to talk about in a few. Yes,
Yes.
perfect. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, then let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Um, what do you need from us, and how can we assist you? So when you say what do you need from us, who's us?
The Galactics.
And those galactics are the ones you mentioned earlier, Palladian, Arcturian, Lyrian, or whoever else that you
Mhm.
mentioned.
Yeah,
Right.
Palladians, Arcturians, um, Antarians. Those are the those are the main ones that are like the guardians for Gaia,
Right.
because Gaia, a lot of really bad stuff. Humans have done a lot of really, really negative things to Gaia, and she put out a call
Right.
and said, "I need help," and these beings came.
So then you say, and how can we assist you? So can you give us one example of what would be a formidable request to the galactics who are here to assist us?
A question that I would ask the Galactics.
Yeah, like, okay, so what do you need from us and how can we assist you? What would be one example?
Oh, of how you can assist.
Yeah.
Um, the Galactics can assist us by communicating with us,
Excellent.
but we, the humans, have to remember that we are presently wearing a third dimensional earth vessel, but our total self expands beyond that limited field. And we also have a fourth dimensional body, which is our creative self. And then we have our fifth dimensional body, which is our interdimensional body. The higher body frequency of body that we are aware with, that we are in communication with, um, dictates how we feel about ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have question number 7. I just, how did you remember and start on your path?
Okay, this is asking me, Sue Lee, or asking, it was actually meant for people to figure that out for themselves.
Exactly. So, you have your personal story, but give us an example of not necessarily you, Suzanne, but how did you remember and start on your own path?
Well, remembering, that's like a very emotional and spiritual. It can be emotional and not spiritual, where it pulls you down. You know, remembering can pull you down and you can remember things that make you sad.
Hmm.
Or you can blaze, blaze, blaze a violet fire, transmuting all shadow into light, 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 and healing that sadness, and go into remembering that which comes from a higher part of yourself, a higher part of your brain's ability, a higher part of your ability to love and to give and to care, and to perceive yourself as a human plus, not a limited human, but a higher dimensional being who has volunteered to take a human earth vessel so that we can assist Gaia with her transmutation from a third, very wounded third dimensional planet into a lovingly healed fifth dimensional planet. And if we're helping the planet to become fifth dimensional, then we would automatically become fifth dimensional as well. Can't do it for ourselves. That's the key.
Right.
Can't do it for ourselves. Do it for the planet.
Right. So
Mhm.
I think that one of the ways that we can get to memory that I've experienced is to get quiet, to calm ourselves down from always doing. When we're always doing, there really is no time or space to go within. There was a period where I had to start learning how to get quiet. And as I got quieter and quieter, more calm, over time, I started to feel this deep goodness within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that started bringing forward this subtlety of, I know something, I feel something. I don't know from where or what, but something's starting to wake up. And of course, it's a journey, it is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this journey brought me where we are right now, where we're talking literally something even more elevated and more advanced about, 5 dimensional and beyond and multidimensional. I never would have imagined that working on getting quiet and centering and listening to the inner voice that we all have. And I think that inner voice is probably where this question really comes forward in when it comes to memory and starting on our path. We'll just look for one more question here. The landings are ready. Are you?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of conversation about UFO disclosure. Is there people beyond us? I mean, are there really other beings outside of us?
Absolutely. 3 times in my life, I've seen starships.
Beautiful. I myself have had my encounters, and I'm sure we can go into those at another time. But yeah, so I know for a fact they exist, and
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them, I felt them, I've experienced them. So I know that for a fact they exist, and I'm glad that UFO disclosure, actually UFO disclosure right now is going through a tremendous amount of resistance and narratives and all kinds of juxtapositions. But eventually, and not too far in the future, I have a feeling there's going to be a bend in the bamboo that's going to snap, and finally it's going to happen where we're all going to have this reunion at some point.
Yes, it's getting closer and closer.
Right.
Um, and it's just to think that this is the only planet that has life, and that this is the most evolved planet that has life. Now that's scary, but we don't believe that because it's scary to not believe that. We don't believe that because we know in our heart, we can feel it in our beingness that there is more, that there is a higher version of ourself. And that higher version of ourself lives in a higher version of reality.
Hmm.
And we are multi-dimensional beings.
Yes. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Suzanne, I think we covered quite a bit. I can't believe the time had went by so fast, and we covered quite a bit actually. Um, is there anything more you'd like to share with us before we go?
Let me see if the Arcturians have any wine.
Oh, thank you. Sure.
Let me see. Blessings. We are the members of your Arcturian family, of your Palladian family, of your Antarian family, of your angelic family. And you are us, and we are you. And your imagination, that which humanity has tried to diminish, it is your imagination, your ability to think beyond what others dare to think, and to trust that what you get from inside yourself and above yourself is true and real. That is where ascension begins.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to say finally at the end? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention about the meditation real quick before we dash off here. Meditation, from my perspective, is it's not in a video or in a book or whatever. It's just sitting in some place that we're very comfortable, where we have the least amount of distractions, and we sit quietly and we allow ourselves to be calm, go within, and just have an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful for that moment. Be grateful that you have people around you that care about you. Be grateful that you can sit in that chair and have a moment of gratitude. That right there is already super powerful. And when we allow ourselves to be in it and feel it and just soothe our soul, soothe our being, and calm down our nervous system and get to a place of really calm, not necessarily fall asleep. You still want to stay awake. You still want to acknowledge and be aware of what you're experiencing. Be in that calm, be in that state, and just enjoy it as long as possible, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's enough. It's
Mm.
already very powerful. After that period, you feel a little bit more rejuvenated, there's more refreshness, and guess what? You feel more positive. That positivity, when we meditate consistently over time, throughout the day or once a day, many times throughout the day, in the evening, before going to bed, when you wake up in the morning, it doesn't matter. The more often we do it, the more positivity we are bringing out from within. And that's the part that we become. We become more positive. We become more visionary. We become more optimistic. Everything flows. There's just more harmony within ourselves. Therefore, we have more harmony in our life because we can relate to the energetic field that we talked about earlier. That when there's something doesn't feel right or it feels off, we just say, nope, got to stay away from that. I prefer to stay in the energetic field that feels good. So, that's my tip of the day, I guess,
Well,
regarding.
one little thing is that the Arcturians told me back when I started to have same time, same place, because when you go to the same place at the same time, you build an energy field at a certain place. And it was an extra room that we had. And whenever anybody went to that extra room, I had a chair there because that's where I would do it. They'd all want to sit in that chair, or they'd sit in the chair and they'd go, "Oh, this just feels wonderful."
Sure,
Just a normal chair.
sure,
They could feel the energy field.
right,
Yeah. Hmm.
beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you added that. That sounds to me also like somebody who has also more experience with meditation, or has the lifestyle that will allow them to do that. There are many people on the go, business people and people who have jobs 40 hours a week or more. They're on the go and they're in traffic and all that. So when do they get a chance to meditate? So instead of grabbing that coffee, for example, how nice it would be if they can just sit somewhere and just be with it. So there you go, folks. You have the version of, if you have a place that you can go to, very powerful, that you can go to consistently again and again and again, extremely powerful. If you're on the go and you cannot do that because it's not your lifestyle, at least you can grab whatever space is available to you that you can find an alignment with and move forward.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
give yourself the space to be in the space.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Perfect. Perfect. Be in
Yeah.
space, exactly.
And realize it doesn't take long for you to realize, how did I do life before I set aside these little meditations? How did I ever survive without this?
That's right. That's
That
right.
that's such a juxtaposition. It's like, wow, what a difference.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
All right, Suzanne.
Okay,
Well,
great.
I want to thank you again. I just always appreciate sharing this quantum field with you, and I'm just eternally grateful to you. And what a wonderful soul you are, and I'm so grateful you're here. So thank you.
And right back at you, everything you said, you're right. And thank you so much for participating in this and setting this up. This idea was a great idea, and I
Wonderful.
enjoy it a lot. And I hope all of you that hear it also enjoy it. And thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.